Hello and welcome to our slightly delayed gameplay video for my Iron Leaves deck, which we posted the profile for last week. This is my third attempt at recording this, so hopefully I get it right this time. While the core gameplay loop of using Ogerpon to accelerate energies and then Iron Leaves to vacuum them up and attack for knockouts is quite simple, I did still want to do a gameplay video for this deck because there are a lot of turn-by-turn choices that you make, and the decisions you make and the order you sequence them in can have quite a big impact on your game. So these replays should showcase how some of those decisions can affect later turns, even without you necessarily thinking it would. The 3 games I'm going to show I recorded the other night on Twitch while I was streaming, and I was a little reluctant to use them in the video. Firstly, we are back in Pokeball tier because there has been a reset on Pokemon TCG Live, so the quality of the games is definitely a little lower than when I was playing Charizard Greninja the other week. Secondly, I had been awake for a very long time on only 4 hours sleep when I did this stream, so my own gameplay is less than perfect. The mistakes I do make, though, are good examples to show off some of the decisions and key points of the deck, so I think they are still worth sharing. In our first game here, we are against Charizard EX, which should be our best matchup. We hit for weakness with both Iron Leaves and Ogerpon EX. And it's one of the easiest decks for us to make Briar plays against, because we don't need quite so many energies on Ogerpon to be able to take a 3-prize turn. We win the coin flip and choose to go second, as is the deck's main goal. And our hand is alright. We have 2 Ogerpons, 2 energies, Iron Crown and a booster capsule. So all we're missing is an energy and an Iron Leaves, and we're able to attack immediately. With most of the stage 2 decks, they do tend to end their first turn with a smaller single prize Pokemon in the active though. So we are quite incentivized to try and get Miraidon out in these matchups, which means we can take a 1-prize knockout with a 1-prize Pokemon, so when they return the kill, they are also only taking a single prize, and we stay on the same prize map as our opponent. So our opponent here manages to do the fairly standard Charizard setup. He does play an early Lumineon to get the Arven ready for next turn, and ends with a Rotom and an instant charge. We don't have any disruption, so there's nothing we can do about this. And we begin our turn with the Teal Dancers from the Ogerpons. Hopefully we do draw something here. If we don't draw something usable, we could be in trouble. First Teal Dance gets us another energy, but luckily for us, the second one gets us the Miraidon that we needed. So we can play the Miraidon here, retreat the Teal Mask Ogerpon, bench the Iron Crown, and we are able to kill the Bidoof. I do also choose to attach the booster capsule so that we have free retreat if it comes up, but honestly it was a bit of a waste. And with the peak acceleration, we can attach 2 energies to Iron Crown to make sure we're ready for next turn. I did think about attaching the electric energy to get it out of the deck so that we didn't draw it later in the game. And this will come up later on, but for now, we choose not to, and we attach 2 energies to Iron Crown. The only way that we didn't have an Iron Leaves attack next turn is if we didn't draw Iron Leaves, because we have an extra energy in hand, so even if he knocks out the Iron Crown with a boss's orders, we would still have 2 energy on board and 1 more in hand. We drew the Iron Crown off. We drew the Iron Leaves off the prizes, so we are completely set up for next turn. It does not matter what he does. If he takes a knockout with Charizard, we will be returning the favor with Iron Leaves. We are kind of desperate for some more draw though. We do have 1 Teal Dance available, but if we don't draw into like a Research or an Arven or something like that soon, we may start to have some problems later in the game. So he goes for Arven, and he doesn't grab for a Sealstone. I can only imagine it was prized. He instead grabs a Defiance Band, which will not really be relevant in this matchup at all. The only time it would have been relevant is if we benched the Iron Leaves last turn, but we didn't want to do that. He goes for the Ultra Ball, Rare Candy Pidgeot, grab the Quick Search for another Rare Candy, and then gets the Charizard online. With his Ultra Ball though, he does discard a Fire Energy, which is important to keep track of. With his Infernal Rain, he also attaches another Fire Energy to Pidgeot. The reason I bring this up is most Charizard lists these days are running 6 or 5 energies, so once they've used them, they'll need to use Super Rods or Night Stretchers or whatever else to get them back. So we do reach points in games where you can kind of put your opponent on needing a specific combination of cards to be able to establish another Charizard. He does also have the second Charmander, so even if we knock out this Charizard, there's probably going to be another one next turn, and then goes for the Burning Darkness. Our turn is very simple unless we draw something interesting. We're going to Teal Dance the 1 energy, and then we're going to knock out the Charizard. We draw the Prime Catcher. It's not useful right now. We don't need the Black Belt because we're already hitting for weakness. We go for the Teal Dance and draw another energy, so we can Teal Dance again. And our final Teal Dance draws us the Lightning Energy. If we took this out of our deck earlier on, this would be a Grass Energy, which would give us access to another Teal Dance next turn, and also make the Teal Mask Ogerpon we're leaving 2 energies on a viable attacker. So we've immediately been punished by one of our earlier decisions, and that sucks. And it's going to suck next turn too, but we'll get there. So we knock out the Charizard, we take 2 prizes, and we get an Iron Crown and a Briar. Neither of these cards are really helping us right now. We do not need the damage boosts, and we do not need the Briar. He promotes the Charmander, and as expected, we'll quick search for whatever piece he's missing, and then Rare Candy Charizard, pulling 2 more energies out of his deck. These last 2 energies that he's putting on the new Charizard, though, are, in theory, the final energies in his deck, if he's running 6. We later find out that he's not running 6, but that's one of the downsides of being in the lower tiers towards the start of the season. People do run somewhat unusual lists, and you do get caught out by it. But we will make our decisions based on the fact that he now has no energy in deck. He has no way to establish another Charizard without a Super Rod. We promote the Ogerpon, and if we had the Grass Energy in hand instead of the Lightning, this would be a very simple knockout, but we actually draw the Nest Ball. The best thing we can do here is to grab our Mew, play down the hand, and hope we draw into something good. It is a little unfortunate having to play the Prime Catcher and moving the Charizard out of the active, because we do want to kill the Charizard, but we think there is no energies left in the deck, so it may be kind of difficult for him to move the Rotom, and a lot of Charizard lists these days aren't playing Prime Catcher, they're playing things like Unfair Stamp, which is Carrier, or even like my Charizard Greninja list is Grand Tree. So it's less common to see Charizards running the Prime Catcher. Not many people run Switch either. So we're hoping we can trap this Rotom here and buy us some time if the restart draws fail, which they do. Palpad and Iron Crown also don't help. We end up benching the Iron Crown, retreating the Mew because it is useful, and donating an Iron Crown to our opponent. We attach the Lightning Energy to Mew because if we make it that far in the game, Mew is a very good attacker against Charizard, but honestly it's just to put it somewhere in case he Ionos us or something. He goes for the quick search here, and we do discover he is actually playing the Prime Catcher, which I imagine is what he quick searches here. He uses the Prime Catcher to get the Rotom out of the active, which is very bad for us, and even worse, he promotes the Teal Mask Ogerpon to knock it out, taking with it our final 2 Grass energies. From this point we are in quite dire straits. We have no energies available right now, we have no attackers ready to go, and we're really going to need something good next turn to get us out of the hole. He also uses Thornton to get rid of the Lumineon and bring back the other Charmander, so even if we do kill this Charizard, he has the option to get a third one online to win the game. He's going to be going down to 1 prize here, so our Briar is completely offline, and we're in trouble. We promote the Mew because it is the pivot in the deck with free retreat. It makes sense to always promote the Mew if you have it on the board. And we draw the Professor's Research. I think about pal padding, but we need good cards now, so I don't want to dilute the deck anymore. We draw into Iron Leaves, we draw into Earthen Vessel, so we do have an attack online this turn. Looking through the rest of the hand, I spend a little time thinking, because if he does get another Charizard, we do just lose. But there really aren't any other options for us now, and based on the knowledge of fairly standard Charizard decks, he should have some difficulty setting up another one, because he, in theory, will need to Super Rod back 2 energies, have Rare Candy, have Charizard, and some decks do only run 2 Charizards now. Depending on what else is in there, this could be his last Charizard. His third Charizard could be prized. We are putting him in the position of have it, or we win the game next turn. Unfortunately though, with our current hand and our prize cards that we drew, we actually don't have game next turn because Iron Leaves cannot attack twice in a row, so we are going to need to find some more stuff. We're bench locked, so if he doesn't knock out this Iron Leaves, which he can't, because if he does that he wins the game, obviously, we're not going to be able to play down the Miraidon to get an easy attack, so we are really not sure how this is going to go. You see me check the discard, I'm double checking to make sure that he has all of his energies are gone or are on the board. I find the 6, I'm feeling good. He quick searches, and I think off of the quick search he grabs a Professor's Research because it's what he plays. And I don't really know what was going on here. We do see in his hand there is a fire energy, so he is running more than 6. I can only assume he was hoping to draw into Rare Candy Charizard at this point, but he doesn't find it and concedes, which is a little premature because we did need to do some more work next turn to be able to actually take the final prize. Moving into game 2, we find ourselves against Lost Box, which can be a tough matchup with a lot of single prize Pokemon on their side of the field, meaning that Iron Hands can be quite an important card to get charged up. We win the coin flip and go second again, and this game was weird, and I don't know how much of it is because we're in Pokeball rank. I don't know if this is someone learning Lost Box, and I don't know if his hand was just bad. But we open Ogerpon, 3 energies, 2 Earthen Vessels, which is not ideal. It also is interesting for us because we have a sequencing question here. We can Earthen Vessel away the Lightning energy and get 2 more Grass energies, then Earthen Vessel away a Grass energy and get 2 more Grass energies, pulling almost all the energies out of our deck before we start using Teal Dance. We could go halfway and Earthen Vessel away one of the other Earthen Vessel to get 2 more energy, or we could Teal Dance before we do any of that. And I don't necessarily know if there's a right answer to this, because if we get the energy out of the deck first, use Teal Dance and draw Professor's Research, we have to play it. We need more stuff. So we would be discarding almost half of our energy from the deck. If we Teal Dance first and don't use the Earthen Vessel, it is better for the chances that we draw Professor's Research, but if we Teal Dance before we use Earthen Vessel, we might just draw energy. So it's a very interesting proposition for us. Our opponent opens with Giratina V, attaches an energy to it, and then uses a Nest Ball to get out a Sableye. Again, I don't know exactly what was going on here. I don't know why he didn't go for a Comfey. We don't know if he has any switch cards in hand, obviously, but going for the Sableye here is just strange in general because this is a late game attacker. We really don't need it on the bench. And then he passes turn. We draw a Teal Mask Ogerpon, so we now have 2 Teal Dances online. This makes me feel a little better about going for the Earthen Vessel first because we can draw 2 more cards with 2 Teal Dances. We have so many ways to get to Iron Leaves. We could draw an Arven, we could draw a Techno Radar, we could draw Iron Leaves. That I feel better about grabbing a couple of energies early, and we Teal Dance into another Ogerpon, so we are rewarded for that decision. 3 Teal Dances, pulling more cards out of the deck. We get a Night Stretcher, that might be useful later. And finally, we draw the Techno Radar. No, we draw a Briar. So, it went wrong. We didn't find an attacker. The only other option we have here is to attach an energy for turn, which I choose not to do because we can do 2 Teal Dances next turn with the 2 energies in hand. If we attach 1 for turn, we only get 1 Teal Dance. If we really need 2 next turn, we can Teal Dance onto the active, then retreat, and then use the Night Stretcher to Teal Dance the same energy to a different Ogrebon. And I believe it's next turn I end up doing that. He finds his Chorus Experiment, so he's able to get 2 more cards in the Lost Zone. And again, weird decisions. He Lost Zones a Comfy and a Switch Cart. He could have took those 2 cards, played the Comfy, used the Switch Cart, got more stuff. But, you know, if you're an expert in Lost Zone and you think this was the right play, tell me why, because I don't know what he was doing here. Who knows what else he got off the chorus? Maybe it was 3 Mirage Gates, and he just decided he cannot Lost Zone 3 Mirage Gates. With that though, he doesn't have a lot going on, so he ends up just going for an Abyss Seeking, I'm not sure. Abyss Seeking, and puts another card into the Lost Zone and draws even more stuff that doesn't seem to be useful. For our turn, we are quite simply going to Teal Dance some more energy onto the board, and we really just hope we draw a way to get an Iron Leaves. It's that simple. And for turn, we draw the Techno Radar, so we do have the way to get the Iron Leaves. The thing, though, is we do not actually have enough damage to kill Giratina. We draw the Mew, it's not useful right now, but we will bench it. But right now, Iron Leaves is only doing 180 damage. We need 220, which means we need 2 Iron Crowns or a booster capsule. I end up discarding the Briar. It's probably not going to be relevant because we are going ahead in the matchup. And this took some thought, and I still messed it up. I ended up going for Iron Crown and Miraidon, thinking that I could get a kill on the Sableye, but again, miscounting. With 1 boost, with 1 boost from Iron Crown, Miraidon is only doing 60 damage. Does let us get some more energy out of the deck, which makes our future draws better, but it does feel quite bad to make this mistake. With the amount of damage we had available, a better play would have probably been to just hit the Giratina, putting 60 damage on it, so that when it evolves, it is still easy to kill for Iron Leaves. When it evolves and it has 280 HP, we need all of our Iron Crowns to even be able to kill it. So we could have made our life a lot easier. Here is the Retreat Night Stretcher Teal Dance play I talked about, but we are not rewarded by it. We draw another area. No, we draw a Research for next turn. I choose not to bench the other Miraidon, it's not really worth it right now. And attach the 2 energies to Iron Crown. So now our energy issues are completely sorted. All we need is Iron Leaves, and with a Professor's Research, the chance we don't get it is quite low. With 11 cards in hand, it was unlikely our opponent didn't have a play for another turn. He does get the Cramorant out, which is now able to attack once 4 cards have reached the Lost Zone, and it has just enough damage to kill Miraidon. So all he needs to do is get 1 more card into the Lost Zone, which he does with another Chorus's Experiment. He's also able this turn to evolve into Giratina V-Star, which puts a lot of pressure on us next turn, because we need to start finding more of our future package. I might annoy a lot of people now, but I find Lost Zone frustrating to play against because players are quite slow with it. It does have a lot of decisions, and we are in the lower ranks, so fair play to this guy for taking his time. trying to make sure he's making the right choices. But when you're playing the kind of deck that I am with relatively simple turns, it can get a bit dull. Interestingly there, though, he does Lost Zone a Giratina V-Star. This will come up later, and I would love to know how many he was running. And also, I would love to know what came off that Coal Rest that it was worth Lost Zoning a V-Star. Because he does also bench another Giratina. So, interesting turn. He switch carts away the Sableye, and then brings in the Cramorant for the knockout on the Miraidon. Eventually. This energy attach I don't really get. I don't know why you wouldn't just put it on the Giratina V-Star. But it's ready for attacks next turn with just a grass attach. It means you don't need the... God, what is it called? My brain is blanking. The mirror. Thing that attaches two energies. Anyway, we find a Techno Radar, so we can immediately grab two futures. I grab two Iron Crowns because we are about to research. The chances of us not drawing a Leaves is quite low, and these can be ready on the bench. So all we need to find is the final Crown, Leaves, and a booster capsule to be able to kill the Giratina. We find most of the parts, and I get excited and decide to Prime Catcher in the Giratina V-Star, grab the Iron Leaves off of the Techno Radar, and then realise I have not took my time and added up the maths properly. We are only actually going to do 260 damage. So for 2 turns in a row, I have missed out on a knockout because I've not been paying proper attention to the amount of boosts we have, which is something I really stressed in the deck profile, and I feel really bad for not doing it myself. There aren't really any better options though. We do power pad back Briar and Boss because they are both one-ofs. Our deck is getting pretty thin now. We have a good chance of finding them later on. And yeah, we Prism Edge for not quite enough. We also can't attack with this Iron Leaves again next turn if it survives, so we are putting ourselves in a weird spot. Mirage Gate, is that what it's called? We're going to find out in a minute anyway. He's going to use it to attach 2 energies to the V-Star, bench another Giratina, and then use Lost Impact to knock out our Iron Leaves, which means our next turn will quite simply be another Iron Leaves to knock out the V-Star, which is not a good trade for us. He is going down to 3 prizes, we will go down to 4. So we're going to be behind, and it's not great considering he has single prize attackers. Again, this Sableye is just weird. It's never going to be useful in this matchup. It's a really late game card. I don't know what it's doing there, but it is what it is. Mirage Gate, right, there it is. That's the card. I can remember the name when I can read it. So we Mirage Gate the 2 energies onto the V-Star, we bench a V, we attach an energy to it, and then we take the knockout. I was fairly worried at this point in this game. We're unlikely to win, to be honest. What would probably happen is we would knock out the V-Star with our second Iron Leaves. He brings in the V, evolves it, uses a Mirage Gate, and knocks out another Iron Leaves to go down to 1 prizes. Even if we can kill the second Giratina V-Star, he is only 1 prize away from winning, so he can just go for a Star Requiem to end the game on anything we can play. It's not how it works out though. We promote the Mew. Mew is always your promote if it's on the board because it has free retreat. Just gives you the flexibility. We could have played the Iron Bundle and tried to draw more with Mew, but the Iron Hands coming as our draw for turn means that we are not in a great position. The most we could draw is 1 off of Mew, so we just go for the Iron Leaves and kill the V-Star. And we do need some gas here off of our prize cards. 520 damage to kill a V-Star. Poor play on my part. We do get an Arven and an energy here, so we're in a good spot for next turn now. We can Arven and grab a Techno Radar if we need to get another Iron Leaves. We can also get the booster capsule, which means we can get the extra 20 damage to kill a V-Star. All we would need to find is one more energy. We can Teal Dance one of them onto the board. We need just one more energy to charge up our third and final Iron Leaves. We spend some time thinking here. Again, it's one of those where I would love to know what was going on the other side. He has 13 cards in hand. God knows what they are. But this is where I do wonder how many Giratina V-Stars he was playing, because he does not immediately evolve into it. There is one in the Lost Zone. There is one in the discard. And he is unable to find a V-Star this turn. Goes for the Mirage Gate, attaches to the Giratina V, only one grass, so he must be out of energy as well. Attaches for turn, so Shred is available. And he ends up just bossing up an Iron Crown and hitting it with Shred, which doesn't even kill it. And it also highlights one of the things I do really like about this deck, that we can just Arven and grab a future booster capsule and kill the Giratina V. I feel like as well using the boss here is slightly a misplay on his part, because the Iron Leaves cannot attack again next turn. I think a lot of my opponents the night I was playing this deck weren't paying attention to that. If he'd just left this in the active, my bench is locked. I cannot play another Iron Leaves EX. I would have to find a way to get it out the active and get it back into the active to take this knockout. But because he bosses, it's as simple as finding a way to retreat the crown. Bossing in the crown does make sense. It is to retreat. It is something that could get trapped. But when you're playing against Future, there's a very high chance they're loaded up on Arven, Techno Radar, and Booster Capsule. So it's unlikely you're going to be able to trap the Iron Crown. And even if you can, we have other outs, like we could find Penny, Teal Dance all the energy back onto the board, and then replay the Iron Leaves to get the crown out of the active. And it's just so much fun just not being able to be trapped as easily. Here's another Giratina V. You must assume he plays 3 V-Star if there's 3 V. Maybe one of them was prized, who knows? We'll never know. So going into our turn, he's made it very easy for us. We're just going to Teal Dance. I should have used Arven first here, because our first Teal Dance gets us the booster capsule. So then our Arven gets us a redundant extra booster capsule. We do grab it though and attach it to the Iron Leaves to put us up to 280 damage. So we are able to kill a V-Star if one appears. But yeah, that's a sequencing issue. We should always get our specific cards first, and then our Teal Dances are more likely to hit other things. We may as well play the energy retrieval and do the extra Teal Dance. We now have an Ogerpon with 2 energies on it, so that's another attacker available. And we attach the booster capsule and take the knockout. And again, I think... Oh, yeah, and we attach to the Mew. If the energy for turn is available and you have it, you may as well put it on the Mew, because Iron Leaves can always suck it back up, and Mew's just such a good attacker. We get a Nest Ball and an energy. And we are ahead now, so really, what are we looking for? We're looking for him to get Giratina V-Star online, kill the Iron Leaves, and us not be able to retaliate. It's the only real way he can win from here. He promotes the Cramorant though. I guess offering us one prize to try and get another turn out of it. Again, really not sure what was going on the other side of the field this time. He attaches an energy to Giratina V, and then just attacks for 110. Again, we cannot attack 2 turns in a row. I get a bit excited and forget this because we draw the boss and immediately pull in the V. Then I realise. So we go for a Teal Dance and we draw an Arven. So if I'd not got ahead of myself, we could have used the Arven to get Prime Catcher, moved the Mew into the active with the Giratina V, retreated into the Iron Leaves and ended the game. But he concedes. I again think he conceded too early. We could have lost that game. Okay, so the final game I want to show from my session on live is against Dragapult, which is a tough matchup for us, but it can go either way. If they have a slower start and we're able to keep killing the Dreepies and they can never get Dragapult up, we can win quite easily, but if they do get an early Dragapult, we have very few chances to kill it. And our opening hand in this game demonstrates what I called in the deck profile an oops all future kind of hand. If you swapped the Iron Leaves for an Iron Hands, this would look just like Future Box. Oh, and the energy for an electric. This would look just like Future Hands. That has been being played less so recently, but in the last half a year. So I can demonstrate the setup that I showed off in the deck profile to have a very safe Iron Leaves play on our second turn. And again, like the Charizard lists, they're probably going to leave a small one prize Pokemon in the active, so again we are incentivized to find Miraidon. He opens Tatsugiri, which does let him search for a supporter, but he can't play it, and he benches the Lumineon before the game starts. So again, Pokeball tier, I don't want to throw shade at people who are less experienced with the game, but obviously this is a lower quality of game than what I was showcasing with the Greninja deck. So he gets a second Dreepy on the board, which is good for him because if the Dreepy dies, the entire deck kind of dies, and he's going to pass. So we're going to use Iron Bundle on our turn. We would rather kill any of the other targets than the Tatsugiri. Don't really care about getting supporters, but we'd rather not deal with Dusclops, or Dusknoir, I guess. And we'd also rather not deal with Dragapult. Draw for turn gets us another energy. There is a consideration here for going for the Professor's Research and trying to draw Ogerpons, but honestly with the current board state I just don't think it's necessary. We can take a good knockout here regardless of what he promotes. If he did promote the Lumineon, there would be more of an argument of going for the Research. We could attach an energy for turn to the Iron Crown, then research the hand away and try to get 2 Ogerpons and an Iron Leaves and the energy. But he ends up promoting the Dreepy, which, you know, it's the right choice. He has 2 of them. If we kill one, it's not the end of the world for him. With the Dreepy promoted, we can go for Arven, grab Techno Radar and Booster Capsule, attach an energy, use the Techno Radar to get Miraidon and a second Iron Crown, attach the Booster Capsule to the active Iron Crown so that it can retreat, bring the Miraidon into the active, attach an energy, and then use Peak Acceleration to knock out the Dreepy, and attach 1 energy to each Iron Crown. This leaves us a very safe way to get our Iron Leaves on the board. If we were playing Iron Hands and we did the same play, we'd be putting 2 Lightning energies onto Iron Crown, onto Iron Hands, sorry, which leaves it very vulnerable to gusting and being killed. We use the Techno Radar to get rid of the Pal Pad. I very, very nearly made a mistake again. We need the second energy in case something gets knocked out. Grab the Miraidon and the Crown. Do the switch. And now we've created the situation where regardless of whatever gets knocked out next turn, we have 2 energies on the board still. We also have the Professor's Research in hand, which is just so powerful right now because we are going to play these cards and then just draw 7. And we get an energy off of our prizes. So he promotes the Dreepy here, which has me worried. He does need a few pieces. He needs Rare Candy Dragapult, an energy, and a Sparkling Crystal to get a Phantom Dive off this turn, but if he does, he can put 20 on each Iron Crown and then we are really in trouble for the rest of the game. Him going for the Arven, I was really expecting the worst, but he grabs the Forest Sealstone. So I don't know, maybe he needed the Dragapult, and that's what he gets off the Forest Sealstone. But again, I don't know why you would get the Dragapult if you don't even have the energy for it, which we also find out he doesn't have. For the third time in this video, I would love to see his hand. I'd love to know what was going on. The very end of his turn here, he does use a switch to put the Luminion in the active, which again is a very weird decision. I don't know why he wouldn't put the Tatsugiri up. I suppose I haven't shown Iron Leaves yet, so maybe he doesn't know what it does. Like, with the fact that I've put 3 Grass Energies on board, you should probably be expecting the Iron Leaves. And he does counter capture up the Iron Crown with a booster capsule, so I do think there is a slightly less experienced player sat across from us at the minute. So we draw the boss. It does suck to research away a boss, but this turn is just too good not to do. We'll play the Iron Leaves, suck up all the energy, and then we have a knockout on the Luminion, nice and easy. And our attach for turn will go on to the Miraidon, so that it is ready to attack again later if we need it. And then we'll Professor's Research and hopefully draw into some good pieces to carry on setting up. We are really pushing ahead right now. And I did have to think about this a bit. Like, the boss is so useful, especially when we can't kill Dragapult easily. But we go for the research, we get Ogerpon, Nest Ball, Underdepths, Earthen Vessel, Energies, and another Iron Leaves. So we are well and truly off to the races now. 2 more Teal Dances. We have another Iron Leaves attack available next turn. Yeah, it's just everything we could possibly want. And we even drew another research for next turn with a low hand size and an Arven, so we can get a Techno Radar booster capsule if we need to hit the high numbers. Dragapult is killable. We would need to find the Black Belt's practice, then we could Arven grab. No, well, that wouldn't work, would it? Because that would be playing 2 supporters in a turn. Yeah, this is what I mean about Dragapult being tough to kill. He also has a very low hand size. He does end up going for the rare candy Dusknoir here, which is not super threatening because of our HPs, but this Iono is devastating. With the hand we end up drawing, we are not in a good spot. He goes for a Nest Ball here, and he grabs out a Rotom. And I'm fully expecting a Phantom Dive here. Oh, he goes for the Alakazam first. He gets a Rotom this turn as well. I'm fully expecting a Phantom Dive here, but he still just doesn't have the pieces for it. He ends up going Dusknoir, and I'm expecting him to pop the Miraidon on the bench so that he can take a prize, because it does seem like he is in dire straits. But for some reason he puts the damage on Tealmask Ogerpon. So I don't really know what was going on here. Our prize card is another Ogerpon, which is fine. We don't really need 3, but it's there. We can Nest Ball for the Mew, so we could maybe pull something together here. We do draw another Iron Crown, so it is more likely. We could Nest Ball for the 3rd crown. We just need to find a way of getting this Iron Leaves in and out of the active, and we need to find a booster capsule, and then we would be able to kill Dragapult. So we retreat into the Miraidon. We Nest Ball out the 4th Iron Crown. The Miraidon is now dealing 120. And I spent a bit of time thinking about whether or not to use this Black Belt's training. Would the extra 40 damage matter? If we use it, we're dealing 160, which leaves him on 160 HP. And the reason this is important is because of Ogerpon, which I just highlighted. If we attack with Ogerpon, it deals 30 plus 30 for each energy on both Pokemon. With 3 energy on the Ogerpon, that is 120, plus another 60 for the 2 energy on the Dragapult, which would be 180. So I end up deciding that the extra 40 damage does matter and use the Black Belt's practice. And we simply grab 1 Grass Energy and put it back on Iron Leaves so that it's ready to attack next turn. With only 2 prize cards remaining at this point, we are in a very good spot. But he does find the Psychic Energy. I was a little worried here. I was expecting him to use Arven to get a counter catcher, move 20 damage with the Alakazam onto the Iron Leaves, and then knock out the Iron Leaves so my attackers are gone. If he had done that, we would have had to Night Stretch a Teal Dance and hopefully find something. He ends up going Sparkling Crystal and setting up a second Dragapult, which we don't... Oh, he doesn't even set up the Dragapult, never mind. If he goes for the Phantom Dive, he kills the Miraidon, and that is just game on board. I'm not entirely sure what he was going for. But you can see the different ways the deck can play from these three very different games. Some played better than others, and also you can see the impact some of my early decisions had on how the game ended up going. For the next bit, I want to head over to the Limitless playtesting tool to show a couple of specific scenarios that don't come up too often but are interesting. Okay, so for the final section of this gameplay overview, I want to talk about Thornton. I'll be honest, the only reason I'm not running it in this deck is because I only actually have one copy of the card in real life, and it is in my Charizard deck, and that's where it's staying. But if I had more, I would put it in this deck. And I'm going to show you why. So I have miscounted the hand. This needs to go to the top of the deck. I have stacked the deck, and I've given us a very specific hand because the plays with Thornton do require specific things to happen, but they can happen. So we're going to assume that we're going second, and our opponent has done a basic normal Charizard start. In the active right now is a Pidgey, which is a single prize Pokemon that ideally we do not want to take one prize against. So we'll draw for turn and we get another Ogerpon. We play these two down. Now, if this was a real game, I would Techno Radar now, discard the Iron Hands to grab Iron Leaves and Iron Crown. But because I've stacked the deck, I'm going to deliberately do this in the wrong order because we need to draw specific cards. But in a real game, you would do it the other way around. We're going to Teal Dance and draw a card. It's a Lightning Energy. We're going to Teal Dance. Oh, we're going to try. We're going to Teal Dance and draw a card, and it's Thornton, and then we're going to Teal Dance and draw a card, and it's Iron Leaves. So we now have everything we need for an Iron Leaves play to work. So we'll play Iron Leaves, move it to the active, and we'll move the 3 energy off of the Ogerpons onto the Iron Leaf in the active. Now, we could just attack and kill the Pidgey, but with the hand we have available now, we can actually do more. So if we use Techno Radar to get rid of the Iron Hands, we'll grab the 2 Iron Crowns, we'll bench those, and now we play Thornton. We'll we'll grab the Iron Hands and we will pop it on top of there. It would go to the discard, but it's easier to show this way. We haven't attached for turn, so here is the Lightning Energy. Now we can amp you very much and take 2 prizes against the Pidgey. In exactly the same way, if we undo this quickly, in exactly the same way, we can have a board set up like this. And if you do choose to run the Scramble Switch Ace spec, let's just pretend that Thornton is Scramble Switch. Scramble Switch lets you switch a Pokemon into the active spot. So we'd put Iron Hands on our bench, switch it into the active spot, and then we can move any number of energies onto it from our other Pokemon. It is exactly the same as Rapid Vernier, but on an item, and it works on any Pokemon, so we would do that. Then attach for turn, and amp you very much for the knockout. So I hope this overview has given you a bit more of an insight into why I enjoy this deck, and some of the fun things you can do while you're playing with it. You did see in some of the games that there are times where it just doesn't all flow together, but you do get that with any deck. But when it does work and you are able to set up a huge board with like 15 energies on the board, that's over exaggeration, but you know, it's really satisfying. So I hope you enjoyed. If you have any questions about how this deck works or anything like that, feel free to ask in the comments. Next up, we will be taking a look at a spread damage deck that I have been enjoying for a couple of months, so I will see you in the next video.